Hey there. So I just finished watching Blu-ray Anonymous's movie discussion on the Scream franchise, which is actually really entertaining, and I recommend that you subscribe to Blu-ray Anonymous channel and check out the video. My opinion, however, is going to be very different. It's time to talk about Scream, the franchise. So if you haven't seen the Scream movies, this is probably not the video to watch because it's going to be spoiler-filled, more than likely. But let's get into each of the films. Basically around the time that a Scream came out, well, it was originally titled Scary Movie. Kevin Williamson had already done a horror film. He'd written one called Killing Mrs. Tingle, which unfortunately he was having a problem getting sold. But he had another one called Scary Movie, and Scary Movie was which would later become Scream, and of course Scary Movie become a bunch of crappy horror comedy films. Would get like pretty much wined and dined around town until there's a bidding war for the Scream for Scream, and they finally came up with it and said, okay, look, the Weinstein's got it, and they got the Scream franchise. After many tries, they finally got Wes Craven to direct the film. Wes Craven didn't want to go back into the horror genre, not in that way, and especially not kind of like lampooning or parroting himself, among others. But you noticed that there was something kind of fresh and modern about this. The slasher genre had been overrun by the mid-'80s, and pretty much managed to hang on until the late 80s, but had run himself kind of into the ground. And although there were still some decent films coming out there, it was pretty much a dead genre. But it was always one of the most profitable genres for horror. And why? Because it's cheap to make. So when they thought, should we bring this back? It was pretty much a no-brainer that the slasher genre they were going to try and bring it back. And why did it work this time? It came in at just the right time. Society really needed it at this point. Horror usually is a reflection of society at the time. Back in the 70s when The Exorcist came out, just go look at the political climate around the time that The Exorcist came out, and you can see why horror was a welcome change. Okay, let's get on to away from the history stuff. Let's get on to the Scream franchise. The first Scream film starred there was a plethora of stars and up-and-coming stars. Neve Campbell, of course, who was a famous TV actress at the time. We had Drew Barrymore, who looked like was going to be the lead and put a gently on us. Courtney Cox, of course, she was famous for Friends. There was like smaller, quirkier character actors like David Arquette, who some people knew, but I didn't know him like well. This would be like a kind of a breakthrough role for him, in my opinion. And of course, there was Jamie Kennedy, who had done mostly kind of like stand-up and stuff like that. And we had guys like Skeet Ulrich, who at that point was probably known best for looking a lot like Johnny Depp. There's a bunch of other actors. Rose McGowan, of course, beautiful Rose McGowan, who does a great job in this film, in the thankless role as the friend, and always hard to like do something with that type of role. But the original Scream had a pretty good the deaths were really cool. It was well done. Obviously, the mask worked. The whole idea of taking stuff, basically it cribbed from a lot of other horror movies. But the fact that it was self-referential and kind of winked at the audience, let it know that yes, we're taking from Halloween. Yes, we're taking from When a Stranger Calls. We know we're taking from it. We're just having fun with it. The character Randy was a character that Blu-ray Anonymous didn't like, and but he was pretty much the horror geek guy that honestly everybody knows a Randy. It's probably me and in my group of friends, the guy that knows a lot about horror. And yeah, Randy comes off like sometimes like a know-it-all and a bit of a douche type thing, but I don't think Randy means to come off as know-it-all or a douche. I think it's just Randy's like, oh, this should make sense to everybody. Kind of like you see all the idiocy around you and you're trying to get people to understand, but they're just not doing it. I had fun with this film. I really enjoyed the first Scream film. I liked the fact that they used Henry Winkler as the principal. I enjoyed the cameo by I think it was by Wes Craven, and yeah, I'm pretty sure it's been a while, as the janitor looking like Freddy, and actually called Freddy, I think. It was a great film. The ending was not a surprise to me. I got to be honest. I kind of knew by the time he shows up at the window and he does that whole PG R-rated relationship going type sequence. Yeah, he's going to be the killer. And the other guy, that was, I guess, the whole idea was, is it one of these guys? It was clever to make it two of them. And let's get on to part two. Part two was done, like set in the college. It was done. I didn't like the female killer in part two. I know what they were going with. I know it was like a homage to Friday the 13th. I did, however, like a lot of part two. Unlike Laurie Namath, I really thought part two was well done. The opening sequence for part two was an incredible opening sequence, and probably the best opening sequence since the first one. We wouldn't get another great opening sequence like this ever in the Scream franchise. I can't even remember what the first opening sequence was in the part 4, but I do remember them in part 3. They killed off one of my favorite characters and pissed me off right away, which was Cotton, who was only mentioned in the first one. Liv Schreiber is a favorite character actor of mine. So seeing him get killed off when he's been really underutilized in part 3, we'll get that later, I didn't like it. But the cool thing with part 2 was right about midway, closer, earlier than midway through, we see Jamie Kennedy's character get killed off. Now, Jamie Kennedy, like him or hate him, is an extremely important integral character in the Scream franchise. So when we see an integral character get cut off, this doesn't normally happen in a lot of horror movies. It was kind of like, okay, anybody can go now. Jerry O'Connell was criminally underused. He did a great job in the role. Vera Lake was the boyfriend, and I really wanted him to either turn out to be the killer, to be honest with you, because at least then he'd be doing something, or just turn out to live, just to live. I've read that there were other endings to this film, kind of more dark endings, and overall, is it as good as the first one? No. Is it a decent sequel? Yeah. I love the Tori Spelling joke that's in there. Now, we go to part 3. Part 3 is the most flawed in the whole Scream franchise. It is probably the worst. It really relies on a lot of gimmicks and cameos. We get an unnecessary cameo from Jay and Silent Bob in this one. No, it doesn't make any sense, but it's just there. They're throwing people in like crazy. I really appreciated the cameos and stuff like that, but it did make up for the fact that it was the weakest script. And the reasoning behind the killings in this one is it's lifted from Hollywood legend, and it's not lifted well. It doesn't make sense in the Scream franchise to go this way this late in the film. They talk about the third sequel and they're bringing in something different and an aspect that wasn't in there. I knew who the killer was in part 3. I knew why, because of the way that they were bringing up the like certain aspects of the script, and it bothered me. I did not like the fact that all of a sudden we were not hearing the Scream voice, we were hearing other people's voice mimicked. I know it was supposed to be new and unique, but it was just annoying and it's just stupid. It wasn't creepy. You know the Scream voice? The voice that's been in the first 2 movies that we heard on the phone, that voice with the voice modulator, that's creepy. Hearing somebody else, a friend or something like that, hey, you want to come into the kitchen? I'm totally not going to. That's not creepy. It is not at all creepy. 3 is flawed, and another reason. Kevin Williamson finally got to make that movie, Killing Mrs. Tingle. Remember that one? I think they call it Teaching Mrs. Tingle. But anyway, that movie finally got that script that he wrote before Scream. He finally got to make this one now. And around this time when he was doing Scream 2, he was a little distracted, so the script got weaker because he was making Dawson's Creek. Obviously, his career had taken off, but he wasn't even doing. He didn't write Scream 3. Scream 3 would have been a much different beast if Kevin Williamson had written it. There have been rumors that Sidney herself may have actually been the killer for the third one, which would have been a really, really great way to take it, rather than this lame-ass brother that comes out of nowhere. sucks. Scream 4 was a return to form. To me, Scream 4 is the second best film in the franchise. Blu-ray Anonymous is right about the fact that these are characters that we haven't gotten to know and love enough, and as we start to love them, they're getting killed off. They should be killing off more of the older franchise characters so that we can get this new cast of characters in there to get us to like them, so that we can watch them for the next couple sequels. No, the movie didn't do as well as it should have done, and it really should have done well. The last absolute scene of Scream 4 is friggin' brilliant. It's a brilliant piece of dark horror cinema, and I love that the radio, basically the talking on the radio, the look at the dead girl. It's just incredible. I love the way that's done. I loved it in the theater. It kind of just chilled me, and I just really got something out of it. Really enjoyed it. It was incredible. I went to see this with my son. We both enjoyed the movie a lot. We were disappointed when we heard that other people had given it a lesser rating. Those people were wrong. I'm sorry, yeah, it's all opinion, but no, the Scream 4 is a good film. And now, where does Scream go from here? Well, obviously, we all know that MTV is going to make a series out of it. They'd been working on it for a while, it got waylaid, and now it seems to be back on track again, especially since series like The Following and Hannibal have become so uber popular, and the Bates Motel, which have probably been the most popular of them all. Now it seems ripe to do a Scream franchise film. TV series. So let's hope that it works out okay, and we're going to see something really cool in the Scream franchise. I was hoping that they would continue on with the movies. I really like the killer, the female killer in part 4, and I was really hoping that the Randy-ish character, the girl Hayden Panettiere, would turn out not to be dead, which was actually rumored that she was going to turn out to actually not be dead, and that it should just look like she was killed and she's going to be in the next film. But now we'll never know. But anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Thanks, Blu-ray Anonymous, for bringing up this really great topic. Hopefully, I've done justice to the video that you did on the Scream franchise. I really enjoy the franchise. It is one of my top 90s franchises. I do like a lot of the horror franchises. I like the Scream franchise. I even like the I Know You Did Last Summer franchise. Well, the first two are really good, and the third one, well, the death sequence that happens in the third one, I always know. It's hilarious, man. It's like, we'll do that on another video. We'll do I Know You Did Last Summer on another video. Thanks for watching, guys. This is Aaron from the Horror Channel, from the Horror Globe. I'm your Canadian connection, and I'm also your tea drinker. And right now, it's really time for tea.